Good morning, welcome to Detroit Wants to Know. We're getting close to Christmas, my friends, and we're at the Detroit Seafood Market. In our last segment today, we're actually going to have a rep here to tell us what's going on for Christmas and New Year's at the Seafood Market. But before we get into all that frivolity and fun, we got to get into something a little bit more serious, and that is the youth of Detroit. A couple weeks ago, the Skillman Foundation announced that they were giving out $2 million for, I guess, 40 groups or 50 groups to compete, to figure out how to spend it, to do youth development and help our young boys. Well, there's somebody I want to introduce you to today that's on the front lines of this, and it's my good friend, Donna Givens. Donna Givens, welcome. You can shake my hand. It's all right. You know, welcome to the Seafood Market, first of all.
Thank you.
And you work for the Detroit Youth Commission.
It's the Youth Development Commission,
Youth
yes.
Development Commission. For the uninitiated, what in the world do you all do?
Well, we do a number of things to prepare young people for college and careers. So our focus is on Detroit youth. We have some direct service programs working with Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation to place young people in jobs and to coordinate year-round youth employment for the city of Detroit. We also work in 10 Detroit public schools coordinating after-school programs in the STEM fields. Actually, the Chase Foundation, or Chase Bank, just gave us a $220,000 grant to implement a youth employment program in 4 neighborhoods that's called Building Blocks, and it's going to put 60 young men of color to work in concert with neighborhood organizations to do high-impact projects in the community. And then finally, we have a project that is in partnership with the Detroit Public Schools, EAA, Education Achievement Authority, Detroit PAL, Wayne State University, and several local coaches to help increase the community standards for youth athletes in Detroit.
Tell me about that.
Okay. It's called Coaching for College. The genesis of Coaching for College is an understanding I came to kind of late in the game as a mother of student athletes, former student athletes, they're in college now or grown, that the Michigan High School Athletic Association, a private organization, does not really mandate a 2.0 grade point average, which most of us think is happening. So what I found is that the state mandate is that students pass 4 of 5 or 6 classes in the previous marking period, and a passing grade is a D. So I did some math, and I realized that 4 Ds and 1 F is a .67 grade point average. 4 Ds and 2 Fs, which is still allowable, is a .67 grade point average, and 4 Ds and 1 F is a .8 grade point average, which is simply unacceptable. It doesn't prepare a young person for anything beyond high school. And so we need to, as we're working with youth athletes, understand that they are going to grow up and that we have a responsibility as adults to make sure that we're readying them for the next phase.
So how does that program work? I mean, how are you going to up those grades?
Well, we're going to start by working together to establish a community standard for playing time. So even though the Michigan High School Athletic Association says it's, passing 4 or 5 or 4 or 6 classes, we're saying that we expect all coaches to mandate a 2.0 grade point average. And all coaches, whether they are coaching school athletics or club community athletics. We intend to educate parents.
So you're talking about AAU?
AAU, Pop Warner, any of the organizations that coach kids, the Nike basketball programs. We want them to understand that they should also be mandating a minimum grade point average for young people so that young people are prepared for college when they graduate and careers.
Okay. How are you going to reach out to the coaches of all these programs? Because I have friends that coach AAU basketball. I have friends that have track teams. How are you going to reach out to these guys and make sure, guys and women, make sure they know?
Well, we've already reached out to several of them, and in fact, some of them have joined us in our collaborative. So we have Detroit PAL right at the table. We have some soccer teams, we have a track team at the table, we have a basketball team that's come to our table and agreed, yes, this needs to happen, but we're going to have a series of community meetings. As important as it is to educate the coaches, we also have to educate parents. How many parents have I known whose children have graduated from or gotten to the 11th grade in high school who are outstanding athletes, and when you ask the parents where their kids are going to college and colleges start calling, they find out at that time their kids are not really eligible, because the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, has standards that their children are not meeting, and they find out late in the game. The other thing that's important to know is that in 2016, those standards are actually going to increase. Right
Okay.
now, you have to have a 2.0 in order to participate in Division I or II athletics. Starting in 2016, you're going to have a 2.3 to participate. Now, the NCAA estimates that in 2011, 40% of those kids who played football, the freshmen who played football, would have been ineligible under this new standard. And the majority of those kids are kids like the kids in Detroit, primarily African American and low income, and we've got to change that. As it stands, 30% of those student athletes in Detroit who are evaluated by the NCAA are found to be ineligible, which is a pretty high percentage.
When we come back, you've obviously stated your belief in the youth and what you're doing with Youth Development Commission. I want you to give us a little bit more on this program you're doing, and then I want to go into your thoughts on Ferguson, and specifically one post you made on Facebook.
Okay,
All right?
sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with my good friend Donna Givens from the Detroit Seafood Market. We'll be right back.
Opportunity. It doesn't stare you in the face. It's not going to yell at you to come and get it. It doesn't knock. So what does opportunity look like? Not what you might think. You see, opportunity is not a right. It's definitely not equal. And it doesn't come with an instruction manual. That's because opportunity isn't found. It's molded, it's built, it's created. It's as much about grit as it is intellect. An explosive high-tech corridor located at the intersection of muscle and brains? You bet. Because opportunity only comes to those already in the game. What does opportunity look like? It looks like Detroit. Opportunity made in Detroit.
Detroit Wants to Know is sponsored by the AFPD, the voice of independent retailers.
With the award-winning Woodhouse Day Spa in your backyard, why would you go anywhere else? Within minutes, feel relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Handcrafted spa treatments will nourish your spirit and revive your senses and allow dreams to reawaken. Give the perfect gift this season, the Woodhouse Day Spa gift card. A luxury spa experience awaits you right in your neighborhood.
We fix hearts, we fix heads, we do eyes and ears, noses and throats. In fact, more children come to Children's Hospital than any other hospital in the state. Stop the headaches, stop the pain, fix the tummies, the ankles, the toes, and fingers.
Emergency? When it's your child, don't settle for less. Trust the pediatric ER experts at the Children's Hospital of Michigan at the DMC. The ER at Children's Hospital.
Always there, just for them.
Welcome back to Detroit Wants to Know. We're coming to you from the fabulous Detroit Seafood Market in downtown Detroit. It's a wonderful place to be. My guest is Donna Givens of the Youth Development Commission, the YDC. Donna, you were talking about your grade challenge, okay? And you've got all these people at the table trying to up the grades, and that the NCAA standard is going to be 2.3 grade point average. And you said, what, 30% of Detroit students couldn't make that?
Yes.
30% could make it or 30% couldn't?
Couldn't, and those are 30% of those who were evaluated. So let me just give a little short background on this. High school coaches or college coaches do not ask for students to be evaluated unless they have already looked at their grades and their test scores and thought they might be close to the mark. There are a whole lot of young people who are ruled out before they are ever evaluated by the NCAA, so we know the figure is actually much larger than 30%.
Okay. Donna, I want to switch gears. All right. Your dedication to the youth is admirable, and you did a post on Facebook talking about young black males and how they're perceived. Can you share that with us and our viewers?
Yeah, I think that the problem with young black males is that they are perceived of as inherently bad, and I might even say as inherently unintelligent, inherently violent. And because of those beliefs, and because of the fact that, you talk to young men, even in our youth group, and I asked them, I said, do you have to do some things to prove to people you're one of the good guys? And they say, yeah, there's tricks I've learned when I walk into a store to let people know that I'm not a threat. That's the kind of thing that people who are not perceived of as being innately good have to do, where there is a perceived threat anytime they walk in the room. And those threats increase by virtue of social status, clothing style, education, where they live, maybe sometimes even skin color and size. But at the same time, there's always that sort of prevailing belief. And I might add to that, even talking about coaching for college, that there's also this belief that young African American men are not as intelligent as other young men. And so one of the challenges with youth sports is we don't set very high expectations for their behavior and for their academic success. And we need to change that with our young men. I have come to know young men who are simply brilliant. I have raised a brilliant and good young man myself, and I have been very fortunate to know so many others. And not all of them are successful academically despite their intelligence because of how they perceive themselves, how the world perceives them, and the opportunities that are leveraged for those young men. Ferguson would not have happened, actually, if the police officer had not perceived this young man like some people perceive a pit bull dog, and that is inherently dangerous. You got to shoot it when it shows the first signs of aggression, because after showing the first signs of aggression, my life is at risk. That's the real basis for what happened in Ferguson, the Trayvon Martin case, the Jordan Davis case. As we look across the nation, the 12-year-old in Cleveland who was, waving around a toy gun and was not given an opportunity to surrender or to, somehow comply with police orders, as my understanding is a police officer got out and shot him down, like you would a pit bull dog that's out of control.
Donna, can I have my show back now?
Yes, you may.
Let me just say this. You're right on point, okay, what you're saying. And people keep asking me, could a Ferguson-type event happen in Detroit? I say, well, no, because the police officers are really connected to the citizens, all right? In my next segment, there's somebody that is part of that connection that has been put to the side. And that person is Willie Bell, the head of the Detroit Police Commission, elected by us, but neutered by Kevin Orr in Kevin Orr's wake. And I hope you can stick around and watch that segment because he's got some interesting things to say, because I may be wrong about a Ferguson being able to happen in Detroit. And once again, I want to thank you for coming down. I hope one day I can get you back at a bar under different circumstances. Maybe? Okay, maybe not. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with my good friend, Willie Bell, the head of the Police Commission in exile. We'll be right back.